The setup sheet is the first page that you need to come in order to create the parameters that the calculator needs in order to run. It is comprised of 5 buttons. In each of these buttons, you will fulfill the information needed to the calculator in different areas. You can fulfill this in whatever each order you prefer. These 5 buttons, once fulfilled, will feed some information here to the left-hand side that the calculator uses. The first button I'm going to demonstrate is the HR, parameter HR. You'll notice that when you enter on HR, it will go on focus mode, so the only page you'll see is the list HR. This here has the list of the technicians that you have provided me working in the lab, and they are classified as direct or indirect. Administrative and interns are classified as indirect costs, and the laboratory technicians as direct. You have the full power to automate these lists. So if I return to the setup, you'll see that right now I have 55 employees working in the labs, and the number of direct employees are 41. I'm considering an average hour per year, working hour per year of 1,720 hours, which is the mean for Portugal according to OCDE. Then these parameters will give me an hourly rate of 14.72, 25 cents per minute. Here, if you, for some reason, this list is not up to date, you can erase this information and you'll see that now I only have 40 and my hourly rate has changed a little bit. So you can fully customize this. So let me just bring these colleagues back here. You can fully customize these according to your needs, or if someone is wrongly classified, you classify as indirect, you'll see that the number here changed from 41 to 40. So let me bring this back as it was. So these, you can always come back to this page to have the most up-to-date information. Also, we bring the cost information on the next page that I'm going to show. The indirect costs. Indirect costs, it's a page comprised of a few columns, and it's basically accounting information provided by the lab. It is organized by cost type. We have HR, structure costs, equipments, and consumables. The laboratory, so we have 3 laboratories here, so we can the costs of the 3, and the type of costs that we have. This page is comprised by the list of tests performed by the laboratory. In column A, you have all the tests done in the laboratory, and on column H, you have the number of tests performed. This page also contains 3 buttons. The usual return to setup, so you see we're on focus mode, so return to setup, we return, and we have 2 more that I explain shortly. For purpose of this demonstration, I have erased all the tests in the calculator here. Obviously, when I send this to you, it's already set it up, but it's just on the purpose of this demonstration. So basically, if I want to define which tests I want to run, I can select here, for instance, let's say this lab, and use this lab to send. So I already had this pre-fill, let me clean. So, and then just press an X. And in this case, all of those that I have sent here, that I have selected, if I press add test, they will go to the sheet calculator. So I'll just press add test here, and I can confirm. If I go back here, they're already here on the calculator. Need to clear the filters here. Other thing we can do is, let's say you have tests that have the same methodology and use similar kind of consumables and or equipment. In this case, it makes no sense for you to do each test one by one. You can group those similar tests. And for that, you can use this column here to group the tests. You can name whatever you want. So I'm going to use two examples here. Let's just, for argument's sake, here, grouping 2. And let's say these tests are part of the grouping 2. Grouping 2. Say those are the tests grouping 2. And let's create test B. So I've created now groups of tests, meaning now that I can use this button to update. Those tests have been added to the grouping. So now when we'll go on my calculator sheet, I can search for those two tests so that they will show up here. So now I can calculate them on a grouping instead of going one by one, which is probably easier. Equipment. This button is where you define the equipment in the lab. Again, you have one button to your on focus mode, you have one button to return to the setup. Here you have the list of equipments used in the lab. And by default, all of those, and you have some hidden columns here in terms of, you have the value of the annual depreciation and annual maintenance costs, and this will give you the annual costs of each equipment. And by default, each equipment is default running 1,720 hours, which is basically the same hours the employees are working. This might not be the most correct, so if you want to correct this information here, you can use these two columns to correct information. So I use this example. I have an ELISA machine that runs 3 times. I use my ELISA machine 3 times per week for 4 different types of tests per day, which would give me 290 minutes per day. So days per week, 209, and 3 days per week. So this is the other way around. So I can probably hours per day 290 and days per week 3. And you'll see that my hours per year are recalibrated to 769, which will give me then this information. So it will give me a different type of cost per minute. So basically, if I do this on the line below, same thing, you'll see that my cost per minute will differentiate. So this is just to get the most accurate information possible. Again, it's optional. If you don't fulfill here, it will always consider these hours. But if you want to have the most accurate information, you can use these 2 columns to have a better reading here. And again, it's already fulfilled by the information you have provided me here. So this you can update if the lab buys any new equipment. This list can be updated here, just very easy. And last but not least, let's talk about the list of consumables and materials. Consumables and materials. This here, it's has a little bit more buttons, and basically this is the basis. So when we go to the input sheets here, and we just use something like this, this is where you're gonna see the material lists used in the lab. Here it comprises of basically everything that all the consumables that the lab has been buying in the past year, and it has a few columns. So column A is the name of the material and consumable. We have also the supplier here. So then we have the quantity that comes with the consumable and the costs. And finally, just some information of what it is, if it's a unit, millimeter, or if milliliter or grams, and this information is important in order to do the calculations. And then here we can go to some sheets, we can return to the setup, we can go to the input sheet, or we can go to the produced in lab. Those sheets I'll talk later about. And so basically those are the 5 buttons on the setup. Again, this has already been fulfilled, so you don't need to worry about fulfilling this in terms of the calculator, but this is more of you to understand that you have this is what is behind the calculator. And you can come here to just to do some updates. So if you want to put the costs of 2024 instead of the 23, if you want to update your employee list, if you want to update the test lists, you can use these buttons, or if you buy a new equipment, you can use these buttons to update the parameters. And here on the left side, you basically have a summary of these informations that we have fulfilled. So the number of tests performed, you'll see that you can see this same number here. You have the total annual cost, which is here. The annual cost with HR, it's on this one as well. So if you filter by HR, you'll see the total costs by HR, and the total indirect costs here. Annual hours per employees, it's OCD. So this can be, if this is not correct, you can parameterize this by whatever hours you work in the lab, so to get the rate. So let's say, yeah, this can be customizable. And final part of the setup here is the definition of stages. So this is what feeds these parts, the process step. So whatever you write here, it's what it's going to be showing up here in the steps that you need in order to have the lab running.